705 people out of 2,228 were the only ones to survive this disaster, deeming it one of the largest non-war-related disasters in all history. Just over 100 years ago it happened, but we relate to the tragedy now through a love story told in the movie Titanic. The movie has always had a place in my heart, knowing that for the most part it was true, so I'm taking this time to find out what exactly happened the day the great Titanic sank. The Titanic disaster of 1912 is one of the most famous tragedies in history and will never be forgotten. In order to truly understand the shock of this particular event, you must first be informed of the facts not commonly known about the Titanic. This is to inform about the unsinkable ship that now sits at the bottom of the ocean in two. The voyage the Titanic was on before and after the iceberg hit, and how the passengers' lives are portrayed through the movie Titanic. In 1912, when the Titanic was built, it was thought to be the largest, most luxurious, and safest ship ever built. The Titanic at the time of her launch was the largest movable object. Jeff Tibbles, in his book The Titanic, The Extraordinary Story of the Unsinkable Ship, said that the Titanic was 882 feet long and weighed about 46,000 tons. This remarkable ship was also known for its luxurious accommodations for the many first-class passengers. The luxury liner was equipped with everything from a heated pool, the first of its kind back then, a library, a barber shop, a squash court, and also had the largest dining room of any other liner at that time. According to Peter Thrush's Titanic, everything has been done in regard to the furniture and fittings to make the first-class accommodation more than equal to that provided in the finest hotels on shore. Nothing had been spared to ensure the comfort of the first-class guest. The ship was only equipped with 20 lifeboats so that the room of the deck would not be taken up by bulky and unattractive lifeboats. Down below, however, was a different story. Hundreds of second- and third-class passengers lived on the first days of their voyage cramped in the under compartments. So in the final moments of the voyage, wealthy and poor alike, all passengers would fight for their very survival. I've talked about the ship itself, so now I will begin on the sinking of the Titanic. While all the passengers, rich and poor, were on their fourth day of the voyage, things went south quickly. In his book Titanic, an illustrated history from 1912, Lynch explains that the collision occurred at 11:40 p.m. on Sunday, April 14th. The Titanic had struck an iceberg and was steadily sinking fast. Though crew members tried desperately to turn the ship in the other direction, the ship collided with the massive berg. The iceberg tore a rip into the ship's side, and 5 watertight compartments started to rapidly fill with water. When the incident had just happened, shockingly, many other passengers remained unaware. To some passengers, all that was felt and heard was a strange quivering. Others that had seen the iceberg as it passed, however, came hurrying down in robes, anxious to discover if they were truly hit. At first, passengers were assured that there would be only a slight delay and were given no indication on the true severity of the situation. Others, including mostly crew members and some passengers located in the below levels, knew the severity. The Titanic was sinking and sinking fast. While distress rockets were fired and signals were sent out, they in the end would prove to not be that much of help. While the Titanic ship went down, it took along with it 1,522 lives. 1,522 lives, as said by Lynch. The lives that were saved, however, were mostly women and children on the 20 lifeboats. Unfortunately, after 2 hours after the ship had collided with the berg, the Titanic eventually broke into two and disappeared from sight. The Carpathia found the surviving 705 in lifeboats and a couple people in the freezing cold water. On the morning of April 15, 1912, the sinking of the Titanic the previous night shocked the world. Now, since I have talked about the sinking of the ship, I'll begin to talk about the great movie, The Titanic. Many years later, we still remember the tragic night, and director James Cameron made sure of that with his movie, Titanic, in 1977. The movie sent the world on a storm with its release and has since held a place apart in almost every home worldwide. Cameron spent many months getting his masterpiece ready. He spent months collecting research and visiting the Titanic's wreck site off the Canadian coastline. He wrote, produced, and directed the movie, and all his hard work paid off. Moviegoers around the globe were taken by the romantic love story portrayed in the movie The Titanic. The movie was a hit and made $28,638,131 in the first weekend, and as of now has a worldwide gross at $1,842,879,955. The movie was also nominated for a whopping 14 Oscars and brought home 11 of them. It made history when it won that many. No matter who you ask, everyone has heard of the Titanic. From generation to generation, the Titanic will forever be remembered, even if they connect it with the fictional characters in the movie. Today I first discuss the building of the Titanic itself as a luxury liner, the disaster that happened to the ship during its voyage, and finally the events portrayed in the movie that everyone seems to be able to identify with. The Titanic disaster of 1912 is and will always be one of the most famous tragedies in history and will truly never be forgotten. In conclusion, the sinking of the Titanic that took so many innocent lives will forever be remembered through the truths known, books written, and the movie that portrayed it. I hope the world never forgets this tragedy, and I would love to see more people know the exact truth.